Anybody importing anything for their business would want to make sure they have those HTS codes. Otherwise, they're paying more tariff than they should. And of course, as you can imagine, like once you've paid that tariff, you can't go back and argue for that money back. That money's gone. You're not going to get that back. Everything coming in like properly coded and stuff. So you only have to pay a 10% tariff, but if you didn't have that code, it's going to default up to the 25% or 35%. Or all we had to do is retrain the models. You just were able to download the HTS codes, feed it to the machine learning models, and have it trained on that. And then we just started throwing all kinds of products at it, right, to test it. And then we were validating, and it was getting everything right. Most of the time, we just need the product title, just the product title, if it's descriptive enough. Really, the more product data and attributes are available for it, then the higher we can go from 95% accuracy to 99, 100% accuracy. But yeah, I mean, we were at Enable Catalyze a couple of weeks ago in Chicago, and there was a speaker that was talking about the harmonized tariff schedule codes and everything, and how it's really important to have that right code, right? Because if you, for all your products that you're bringing in, right, if you don't have the right code, then it defaults to whatever the higher tariff is, because the tariff code is fraught with, thousands of exceptions, and you don't only get to take advantage of those exceptions if you have your everything coming in like properly coded and stuff, right? So you only have to pay a 10% tariff, but if you didn't have that code, it's going to default up to the 25% or 35% or whatever it is this month, week, day, as they're continually renegotiating that whole thing.
So one of the things that we've done is we've encouraged, everything from SIs to agencies to practitioners, manufacturers, distributors, to when they have an active issue, something that they're actually seeing happen right now, whether it's news or an issue, that we just get on and talk about it. I think video is one of the most critical platforms that we can do together. And the team at DataX, Jonathan and John and Derek, had written me, and we just talked about the impact of tariffs, and they had an interesting spin on tariffs of, how do you actually categorize product content? I never even thought through it. In fact, I don't know a whole lot about tariffs, guys, in general, and the impact. I just haven't done a lot of studying on it. And so I'm curious from your perspective, maybe we can start here. The tariff issue prior to all these changes that we've seen over the last couple of months, what was it still a decent sized problem before all these changes happened, or have we seen kind of an acceleration of that and going from kind of minimal problem to just a big problem over the last couple of months?
Yeah, I mean, great question. I mean, yeah, we've not done a lot of tariffs for the previous decades. I mean, they've existed, right? But I don't think anyone's had the level of acceleration of complexity in tariffs, right? As there is right now, right? I mean, if you go to the HTS, which is harmonized tariff schedule, HTS, I think .gov or something, you can, just look at the page and scroll down. There's like 99 chapters of updates, of just, and you can open up each one and it's a whole new set of rules and some of those rules are canceling out the old rules or updating the old rules. And, so it's a jungle, right? It's a, I mean, you think about how many loopholes there are in the IRS tax code. It's like, well, now you've got that in the tariff schedule, basically, right? So there's just, complex.
Whose responsibility? So you think a distributor, manufacturer, and we're talking specifically about how that affects product data and content, so we can act on that. I would imagine, right, from the distributor perspective or manufacturer perspective. In kind of, if we just take the general industrial, like who controls the tariff codes? Is it the manufacturer, the original manufacturer, the distributor? How does all that work?
I mean, if you're dealing only with U.S. goods and you have nothing to do with it, anybody importing anything for their business would want to make sure they have those HTS codes. Otherwise, they're paying more tariff than they should. And of course, as you can imagine, like once you've paid that tariff, you can't go back and argue for that money back. That money's gone. Like you're not gonna get that back. So, but also just it's important for forecasting and stuff, right? Like if you're sitting here, it's like, wow, I had this whole category of products coming into my country that were coming in at this price point. How am I supposed to forecast what my pricing is going to be until I know what the tariffs are in all these categories? Like, you talk about needing to know that information just for the future as well. Like, so yeah, any kind of strategic planning and budgeting it's helpful. So
How often are those HTS codes and the rules changing?
it can be weekly or daily, right? So yeah.
Wow.
I mean, yeah. So I'm looking at the website right now, 2025 HTS revision number 13. So we're on the 13th overall revision um,
Hmm.
to the whole code. So, and this hasn't been that many months, right?
Do understanding the tariff codes, they have an impact, like what's the impact on e-commerce with that? So I understand the impact of those goods arriving and then understanding, because really you might have two sets of pricing now, right? Because you have 500 of one product that came in under a tariff that was much less. And then you have 500 of another of the same product that came in 3 months later, but now it's got a 30% tariff, so it's 30% more expensive. So that affects like how products are coming in and the pricing of those products.
Yeah.
How does that reflect then downstream to e-commerce? And is that relevant information that people need to know too as they're looking to purchase those products?
I would say sometimes. So we were actually talking to a distributor at a conference, B2BEA Online, and they were talking about how you have these tariff prices, and a lot of people, they update their pricing overnight to reflect that price increase. And so they just see one lump sum for their order, and people are like, this went up, 35%. What the heck? And they were freaking out. And the person we were speaking to, one of our clients, they were advocating that you need to have that tariff price. So that way they can see, here's the base price, here's the tariff price, and here's the actual, the full price. That way they're more understanding.
On every product, like every kind of line item that they're purchasing. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Yeah, like on a web page where you've pulled up a product, right? Like an Amazon, for example.
How does one even start the process of applying these tariff codes?
Well, if you're doing it manual effort, you just go to the website, download all the rules, and then you have to read through it and,
Yeah, let's not do that.
and assign the codes, right? So, I mean, that's the brute force way, right?
What are the alternatives to that? That doesn't sound like a very good idea.
No, it's not a good idea. I mean, I would be interested. Like, I haven't attempted to, do Chat GPT and see if that gets, how high of a success rate that would get you. I don't know if that would get you a 30% success rate or 50% success rate. I would imagine though that's not there yet. To a high degree. Obviously there's us at DataX. We've, like once we found out about it, we within about 24 hours, we had already run samples and started validating if this is something our current machine learning models can do for us, because we've already been classifying product data into, a distributor's custom e-commerce taxonomy or whatever, right? So we've been doing that at scale for since 2016 or something like this, and so for us, all we had to do is retrain the models. You just were able to download the HTS, harmonized HTS codes, feed it to the machine learning models and have it trained on that. And then we just started throwing all kinds of products at it, right, to test it. And then we were validating, and yeah, it was getting everything right. So when we saw this, we were like, our ears were definitely burning, because we were like, wow, we're literally already do this. It's just a different taxonomy. It's the government taxonomy for product classification versus the distributor's taxonomy for product classification, right?
What does that taxonomy, the tariff taxonomy, look like? Is it really complex? And then what data do you need to support that? To support being able to classify it, what data on that product do you actually need to be able to do that classification?
That's a great question. Most of the time, we just need the product title. just the product title, if it's descriptive enough, right? If the product title is not descriptive enough, then really the more product data and attributes are available for it, then the higher, you can go from 95% accuracy to 99, 100% accuracy with all the attributes, right? So
What role does country of origin?
well, yeah, that does affect the tariffs.
So from what I'm seeing here is HTS codes do not specify country of origin themselves. They classify what a product is. Do not.
Do not. Okay.
They don't specify where it's from. But obviously, like duties and the tariffs themselves would apply based off the country of origin.
Combined with HTS.
Combined with the
because the ATS code basically gives you the exceptions, right? Because if it's from China, then it's an outrageous percent, right? But if it's China and it's has this specific HTS code,
it drops.
It might only be 10%, right? It's a drop.
Right.
Where's all that information? Where's that mapping? Where's that secondary mapping done then? We have HTS.gov, and then we have like tariff. Does HTS have the rules for the origin too in it?
So I just opened up chapter 68, which is articles of stone, plaster, cement, asbestos, mica or similar materials, ceramic products, glass, and software. And this one document is 13 pages long. And it says what's generally free. Everything is broken down into 3 columns, basically, column 1, 2, and 3. There's rates of duty. There's column 1 and column 2. Column 1 is broken up into general and specialized. So column 1 generally applies to goods from countries with which the U.S. has normal trade relations, NTR, normal trade relations, while column 2 applies to goods from countries without normal trade relations. Column 1 duties are typically lower than column 2 duties.
What other data do you need to support the building of the taxonomy, or actually calculate the tariffs on this? What's the other type of product that you need to support that?
I would say the only product data that we really need to classify the product into the correct HTS code is most of the time we just need the name of the product. If it's descriptive enough in the name, if we might need more data attributes, like if one of our clients says, really, we're going to ask for all their product data, because
right.
the more data points we have, the more accurate we're going to be able to classify things. But, and so once they have that classified, then of course, when it comes to their final tariff rate, it'll depend on if it's a column 1 country or a column 2 country, if it's normal trade relations or not normal trade relations. It'll just depend on the country combined with a harmonized tax code, because each code will have different rates depending on the country it's from, right? So, yeah.
So how then, so you have the HTS, that's a classification, and then you have
it's a product classification, yeah.
The tariff that's applied by I would imagine, the HTS classification and country of origin, and there's rules around that.
Exactly.
Right? There's kind of 2 parts of that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which, and so there's 2 pieces of data to be caught up on, right? You wanna have the HTS codes, but then for forecasting and stuff, you'd also maybe like to use HTS code plus country of origin to have that. What is that percentage rate today, right? And if you can have all your percentage rates going down all your products, that's powerful information to have as a distributor or a manufacturer, as a company, anyone importing anything, because then you know what's coming down the pipe, right? Of course, that's for today, it's for next week, it's etc. But when they make a revision, it's not typically a complete overhaul on all of it. So pockets of it are going to stay stable, but yeah. So there's the monitoring piece of like, okay, this week, what are our tariff rates for all these codes from all these countries? So being able to generate that generate that easily on a cadence to have that kind of intel for forecasting and budgeting is, I would imagine, really valuable.
What's the process of working with you guys to help? If a distributor has 100,000 products, let's pick an example. What's the process of someone working with you guys to figure out how to classify their products and calculate tariffs and things like that?
Great question. I mean, we would start with a free proof of concept, we would take 500 or something, and we would just say, here's the output we're generating. Here are all the codes. Here are the country of origins. Here are those tariff rates. We provide that in an output format, and then they would, if they need that output format in some other custom way, if we're able to, accommodate that, then, which we typically are, then we would do that. So we were just, everything we do is we start with a free proof of concept, and then because we want to nail down what specifically the client is hoping to achieve. So
how do you guys look at quality of that then? I'm sure there's some percentage of accuracy to get the models.
Yeah, stratified samples. Human validation, stratified samples. And that's part of why we do the free proof of concept too, is because no one's going to look through 100,000 SKUs to verify accuracy, but they'll look through 50, so they can get a feel.
To add on, for clarity, that's our team. So we do the stratified samples on our end. As you know, AI can hallucinate and cause problems, right? And so that's why you always have to have that human in the loop component.
I had someone say the other day, like, what's the difference between AI hallucinating and your salesperson just lying to you? And we're talking about sales enablement and providing. Someone said, well, AI hallucinates. And they're like, well, your sales team hallucinates too. They just do it on purpose. And
the difference is the motive.
Right.
Yeah.
The intention.
I don't know. So which one's worse? The one that doesn't know it's hallucinating, or the one that anything we didn't cover, guys, that you want me to dig into? I think it's super interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I sent you a link to a newsletter. You can kind of browse it and see all the penalties of like different case studies from having incorrect codes. Some of them are crazy. It's like hundreds of millions.
What's the impact of getting any of this wrong?
Yeah, great question. I mean, it can vary depending on the size of, how many products you're importing. But as you can imagine, the more products, the more costly it will be to have the wrong codes. I mean, I'm looking at one article right now. It's 15 million. Fine highlights the risk of wrong HES codes. So yeah, some of them can be crazy.
These are fines by the government. That's the impact.
Right. I mean, it's really simple. It's like filling out your taxes, right? It's like if you provide the incorrect information, then you're gonna be in hot water.
Mm-hmm.
If they catch you, which I don't know how often they're gonna catch you. The bigger the fish you are, probably the more scrutiny you're gonna get, is my guess.
Yeah, I mean, most of this, when they want to do the right thing, right? I think there's a challenge though when doing the right thing is really hard. I don't mean hard morally, but a difficult process to do the right thing, right?
Right.
It's a little like the year 2000, like switching over from from the 1900s to 2000 was a lot of work, and it was a lot of effort for something kind of inconsequential. And this feels like the same thing. It feels like a lot of work to be able to be put through to do the right thing.
Right. There could be accidental cheating. If the more complex and confusing, whether it's the tax code or the tariff code or board game rules, like whatever it is, if you're just playing a board game with really complex rules, there can be accidental cheating just because you don't understand everything, right? So
that's right.
Completely agree.
That's great. I think it's super interesting.